Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, let's start our session. So, starting for a new chapter of learning, I, Anjali Kushwaha, being your host for today's event, wants to extend a warm greeting and good evening to all of you present here. I hope you all are doing amazing. Today, on the behalf of whole SAMS family, I would welcome you all for this exciting international webinar where we discuss about emotions affect our communications. Today, we embark the journey where emotions affect our communications. And to add our guest of honor and today's speaker, Ms. Devika Biswas, it's a great honor to have you with us, ma'am. We are grateful for your presence. Now, let me introduce today's speaker to all of you. She has 18 years of corporate experience and a diverse background in human resource, training and development, coaching, and digital brand management. Throughout her career, she has sharpened her expertise in coaching individuals to enhance their communication skills, manage their behavior, and navigate emotions effectively. She have developed a tailor-made programs that provide long-term guidance and goal-setting strategies. A wide range of clients, including young individuals, executives, young entrepreneurs, business professionals, housewives, and children. Her coaching approaches goes beyond traditional methods by incorporating shadow work theory, which enables individuals to manage challenging situations through emotional management, self-awareness, self-engagement. This approach has proven highly effective in empowering individuals to overcome obstacles and achieve personal and professional growth. Now, over to you, ma'am.
Let me start without further ado. Let me share my screen with everyone and let me begin. Before that, I would like to tell everyone that, today, everywhere, anywhere and everywhere that you go, communication skills is judged not only professionally, but, your personal merits are also judged on the basis of how you handle certain communications. And that is the reason, as a coach, I found it throughout my career that communication is key to every field, be it in the field of marketing, be it in the field of journalism, be it you're in the IT field, in the non-IT field, teaching, um, any kind of field that you get into in your professional life, communication plays a huge role, as well as your personal life, the kind of issues that we face on an everyday basis, even in our personal lives, um, boils down to just one particular thing, that is, how effective our communication is, whether how we are negotiating, how we are understanding, how much of awareness do we have of ourselves and the things around us. So on the basis of that, I've just created a very small PowerPoint presentation, and I would like live questions to come so that, we could make this more interactive. The impact of emotions on behavior and communication. This is basically, today we'll be talking about the fascinating relationship between emotions, behavior, and effective communication. And the reason why I, have had a journey from training and development into coaching, and now I am a mental health therapist where I help students from various backgrounds, to overcome their communication issues. And it all comes down to one thing, so in the very beginning, when we talk about communication, most people, majority of people think that communication is all about speaking a certain language in a very professional manner, in a very good manner. So mostly when we talk about communication, the first thing that strikes our mind ki something to do with English speaking, okay? And हमें ऐसा लगता है कि English ही बोलना is good communication, right? But this is actually not communication. Language, knowing a certain language and communicating in a certain language is very different from the overall impact of communication. So today we are going to understand, what is effective communication and how our emotions and behavior takes a major role in playing that. Once again, I thank everyone for joining me today and the people who are even joining in right now. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come across and create an awareness on a very important topic. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm basically a coach that works on behavior, communication, and holistic living. I have always believed that one's behavior affects communication. And when we sort out the major problems in our life, which comes down to behavior and how we communicate certain events, situations in our life, that also affects our kind of living, our lifestyle. And if we take care of all these aspects, we can work on a lot of other things that are very challenging in our day-to-day lives, whether it's personal or professional. I'm also a shadow work coach. Shadow work is basically working on the deepest shadows that we all have, also labeled as negative traits, or negative the labels that other people also associate with us, such as jealousy, anger, hatred. These are certain words that when we talk about it, we don't want to accept that we have these flaws as well. We have these traits as well, which makes us a whole human being. So shadow work coaching is all about understanding that we have a darker side, and our dark side also challenges us, also channelizes us based on the certain situation that we are dealing with. Okay. And shadow work is all about acceptance of these darker sides of us. Like, we all have a certain ego, but most people get very offended when you say that आपका एक ईगो प्रॉब्लम है. तो आप इमीडिएटली देखोगे कि लोग बहुत गुस्सा हो जाते हैं, बोलते कि नहीं, मेरा ईगो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. कि आप गुस्सा क्यों हो रहे हैं? नहीं, मैं गुस्सा नहीं हो रहा. उनके लिए ये ब्लाइंड स्पॉट होता है, बट हमें बहुत क्लियरली ये चीज दिखता है. तो शैडो वर्क एक ऐसी चीज होती है, एक ऐसा थेरेपी, एक ऐसा प्रोसेस होता है जहाँ पे लोग अपने शैडोज के बारे में जानते हैं. एंड दीज शैडोज आर बेसिकली suppressed emotions right from childhood. छोटे से, बचपन से, when we start suppressing certain emotions, start suppressing certain needs, certain behaviors, these these shape up our personalities, and they become one of the integral parts of our personalities when we grow up, when we become adults. And ये हमारे behavior में दिखता है, जिसका सीधा effect, this falls on the straight effect of our behavior, of these behaviors, falls on our communication, right? I'm also a licensed artology practitioner, where artology is actually a combination of art and psychology. It's basically an art-based psychological therapy that I conduct with young children, young adults, young individuals, school, college-going people, even housewife, because art is a certain way of expressing certain emotions that cannot be expressed while talking. So I take care of all these kind of things at the moment, currently, that what we are doing. So let's get on to understanding a little bit more about communication. So the first thing that I'm going to tell everyone is, let's keep it real. Since we are talking about emotions, we are talking about communication. These are things that we do on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so let's keep it realistic, and let's not get into something that could be or anything rhetorical. Let's first introduce that why emotions play a very significant role. It is very important. Emotions shape our thoughts, they shape our actions, our interactions with others. It also helps us to understand certain behaviors. Okay, like for example, when someone is sad, okay, they have a certain expression on their face, they have a certain body language. When we see that, we understand that the person is sad, and then we automatically understand how to behave, right? Understanding how emotions influence behavior, and therefore how that behavior can influence our communication, helps us to basically overcome most of the challenges of our life, most of it. Okay, somebody who really knows how to understand behavior can communicate very well, extremely well. And that is the reason they have a very good balance over their personal and professional lives, right? So let's understand more about emotions, and let's discover what kind of impact it has on our day-to-day lives, or our professional and personal lives. So basically, understanding emotions and behaviors, how does this impact? So basically, emotions are nothing but, the kind of thoughts that we have. Our emotions are made up of our thoughts. And our thoughts are normally converted into our actions. The way we think is the way we act. Okay. And the way we act is, again, an emotional display of our behavior. So it's a circle. So you see here in the diagram as well, it's basically pattern. How we think is how we generate it into thoughts, and how we generate thoughts is how we put it into our actions, which kind of helps us to deal with our everyday situations. They are very complex psychological states, Emotions basically have subjective feelings, they have a psychological response, and they have a behavioral expression. What do you mean by subjective feelings? Feelings that we feel around us, okay? Any kind of feelings that we feel around us or we are observing has a kind of impact, okay, over our thoughts. These thoughts basically then generate, physiological responses, the way we have our body language. When someone is angry, we become defensive or we become protective of ourselves. When someone is sad, we become caring. Our body language changes. This is known as a physiological response to the kind of feelings we feel. Okay, whatever we are feeling, we're putting that into our physical state as well. And when we put something into our physical state, that naturally becomes a behavioral expression, right? That is the reason some people who go for interviews, some people who go, for group discussions for the very first time to a place, right, to appear, they feel nervous, right? That nervousness is also seen in their physiological responses. And sometimes out of nervousness, we speak things, right? We express things nervously as well. This is known as, a cycle. It encompasses of subjective feelings, psychological responses, and behavioral expression. Now, the natural part of being human is, whatever we see, whatever we hear, okay, we have a response to that. Right now, there are a lot of things going on in the world, right? A lot of things going on in our country that triggers us, that makes us react. This particular reaction is known as an influence, and this has an influence on your behavior as well. Okay, हम जो देख रहे हैं, हम जो सुन रहे हैं, हम वही अब्सॉर्ब कर रहे हैं, और हमारा दिमाग भी उस चीज को अब्सॉर्ब करके एक सर्टेन बॉडी लैंग्वेज बना देता है. हम जब कुछ देख रहे होते टीवी पे और अराउंड अस जब कोई एक डिस्कशन हो रहा होता है, we immediately have an influence, and that influence basically makes us feel angry sometimes. वो anger हमारे body language में दिखता है, and basis of that only we even communicate. Our voices become louder, our body language becomes more aggressive. This particular thing matters a lot in a day-to-day basis when we don't have certain control over emotions. All right. And emotions have a very profound influence on behavior, and it guides our decisions, it guides our actions, it guides our interactions. तो on a day-to-day basis हम लोग जो बात कर रहे होते हैं, उसका सीधा इन्फ्लुएंस हमारे बिहेवियर पे आता है, हमारा एक्शन पे आता है, हमारे इंटरैक्शन पे आता है, हमारे रिस्पॉन्स में आता है. This entire thing is known as communication. Communication का मतलब सिर्फ ये नहीं होता है कि you are talking in a certain language, or communication doesn't mean that it's only language based. Communication also means behavior, it means actions, it means interactions, it means reactions, it means body language. So there are two parts for communication. One is verbal communication, one is non-verbal communication. Something that we talk and we communicate, something that we don't talk and we communicate. Now, by understanding, the relationship between emotions and behavior, we can really gain insight. हम समझ सकते हैं कि how to react. But how to react के पहले, we need to understand how should we control our emotions and behavior so that we can bring out a more positive reaction to things. Now, the influence of positive emotions. So how does positive emotions influence in every day-to-day lives? You might hear a lot of times, people will say to you ki dukhi mat ho, stay positive, think positive, सुनने में बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, but कभी-कभी, the situations in our life dictates our state of mind, our state of thinking. And every single time to think good, to think positive, it doesn't happen that way. Okay, it's not possible to think positive things all the time when our lives are really going through a tough phase. So emotions really play a very significant role in shaping our thoughts and actions and interactions with others. And understanding how emotions influence the behavior and communication can empower us to navigate through personal and professional lives. So basically, one needs to understand that even if we are going through a really bad phase or a bad time, there's a way to communicate this to others as well, rather than lashing out, right? So what happens kabhi kabhi, I'll give you a small example. हमारे अगर पर्सनल लाइफ में कुछ हो रहा होता है या घर का सिचुएशन कुछ हो रहा होता है, हम काम पे आते हैं, हम थके हुए हैं, we are exhausted, we are tired, we are angry, we are sad. These are all dark emotions that keep surrounding our thoughts, right? क्योंकि real life में situation अच्छा नहीं है, so we keep thinking about it, okay? We go into hyper thinking mode about it so much that वो हमारे body language में भी दिखता है. So sometimes what happens is कि कोई एक इंसान अगर मान लो there is a situation that is going on in life, they go to work with that emotion only, right? Without handling that, without expressing, right? They go to work, and if there is something, right? say मान लीजिए आपके मैनेजर ने आपको कुछ ऐसे बोल दिया जो आपको ट्रिगर कर दिया, या आपके कोलीग्स ने एक ऐसा मजाक किया जो जिसके थ्रू आपका एक ट्रिगर हो गया. Trigger means a switch that comes on. Trigger means that something that immediately reminds you of something that could be good, that could be bad. Normally, trigger को negatively use किया जाता है because it is something that happens immediately. Okay, it brings back a negative response or a negative memory or something that negatively affects us. You know, it brings back sad thoughts and things like that. तो इसके basis पे क्या होता है? Say if somebody triggers you, said something that immediately relates to something that you have faced, something that you are already going through, आपको गुस्सा आएगा. Okay, गुस्सा आएगा तो what will you do? You will immediately aggressively attack. That is the common thing that a human being does. The attack, and I wouldn't say an attack means you do it out of nothing. An attack is simply that somebody's saying something, but you couldn't handle those emotions in your head, and you shout back, or you went out, or you blast out, right? Another form of emotions, of how emotions takes over our mind is, say you're sad and somebody, you go to work and there is a lot of work and you're not being able to complete it, right? And then your manager comes or your team leader comes and again starts reminding you that you need to do your job and you need to do these things. You start feeling overwhelmed. When you start feeling overwhelmed, you break down. Sometimes you even cry. बहुत लोग ऐसे होते हैं कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ में, जो मैंने भी बहुत लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस किया है. In corporate lives also, they break down sometimes because the pressure, the stress is so much that they cannot handle it, right? And when there is no synchronization of emotions in your personal and professional lives, you break down. बहुत लोग वॉशरूम में जाके रोते थे, बहुत जन अपने डेस्क पे बैठ के रोते हैं. So after 2020, there has been a high alert of mental health illness, people really coming out saying that there is a lot of issues that they have been facing in their mental health, but aaj tak they have not been able to express or open up. And slowly people are now coming out and accepting that they are willing to take steps to get their mental health in order. So the influence of positive emotions mein aisa hota hai ki when you think good, or you think in a positive way that even my problems, I am going to try to sort out my problems, वहीं पर ही एक balance आ जाता है, right? You start creating hopeful situations in your mind that, okay, let me understand how to go about difficult times in my life. Once you do that, you will see what happens is that sometimes your actions, the way you talk, the way you behave becomes very, very, very easy. It becomes very smooth. Also, I would like to tell you is that when you're facing a problem in life, that is difficult, that you're going through difficult times, one way is to honestly speak to your superior at work. If you're facing something in the house and you're finding it difficult at home, in your personal life, try to honestly speak out to either your partner, your father, mother, siblings, friends, husband, wife, जो भी आपके घर पे है, बात कीजिए. It's very important that we talk, we communicate in the right manner, right? We will come back to that. Let's move on to, positive emotions. What kind of positive emotions? They are feelings of, enjoyment, happiness, joy, love. हम हमेशा भी, this is a new trend that everyone says, कि मैं शांति ढूंढ रहा हूँ लाइफ में. I am searching for थोड़ा सा शांति ढूंढ रहा हूँ लाइफ में. How do we get these emotions? How to bring them into our lives? कुछ नहीं. You need to be kind. You need to start with first being kind to yourself, and then you need to extend kindness into others. You need to be very understanding. You need to have that empathy. Yes, you are going through certain phases in life, but that should not stop you from living the other aspects of your life. You need to bring that sense into you. ठीक है, it's a phase. This will require a lot of awareness. खुद का awareness होना है, आसपास का awareness होना है, situation का awareness होना है, and you need to be with the people who support you, who love you, right? Unconditionally. There should not be. When you surround yourself with the people who you love and the people who support you for the way you are, who accept you as you are, you start feeling accepted. When you start feeling accepted, you start feeling hopeful, you start feeling strong that you will be capable of overcoming the situations in your life. These automatically create a positive influence on yourself. This will create an influence, a very positive influence, even in your life. Surround yourself with good people at work, reach out to people at work, right? Surround yourself with kindness, whether it's at work or it's, in your personal life. You will see it makes a huge change. बहुत difference आता है when we choose the right kind of family people, family members, friends, colleagues. The right kind of people creates a big impact on our lives, as well as it kind of alters our emotions to take care of the rest. Coming to the next, let's understand the examples of positive experience. A person who experiences joy, he may be more willing to lend a helping hand and actively participate in team activities and embrace challenges with enthusiasm, right? Joy kahan se aayega? Joy bahut sari cheezon se aata hai, a lot of things. Some people find joy in the smallest of things. Some people find joy in helping other people. Some people find joy कि आज मैं रोड से गया, मैंने एक बच्चे को देखा, मैंने एक बच्चे को चॉकलेट खरीद के दे दिया. Joy has many forms, many shapes, many languages. आज आपने किसी को help किया, उससे भी joy मिल सकता है. आज आपने से सालों बाद you met a very good friend, you felt that is also joy, that experience. आज आपने बहुत दिन बाद आपके favorite जगह पे जाके आपने गोलगप्पे खाए, that golgappa will also bring you joy, right? Anything that makes you feel even a certain degree of fulfillment, if it fulfills you in a certain place, that certain sense of joy that you feel, छोटा सा खुशी जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग, that itself will boost your morale, it will motivate you, and it will create this huge level of enthusiasm within you. And this is a proven fact. Next, if a joyful feeling is also known as feeling inspired. Okay, feeling inspired can lead to increased motivation and goal-directed behavior. Inspired individuals may take on new challenges. They may take personal and professional development to a next level. They would want to strive for excellence. So inspiration कहाँ से आता है? Inspiration कभी-कभी आपने एक अच्छी सी novel पढ़ ली. You're inspired by the story. You saw someone, you're inspired by that human being. Okay, you have seen somebody do something, that action has inspired you. You must have been inspired by your mom, your dad, your siblings. Inspiration has no end. You can be inspired by an animal, you can be inspired by an insect. Most people are even some people are even inspired by the ant. एक चींटी जो अपने बॉडी वेट से डबल खाना उठा के अपने फैमिली को लेके जा रहा है, that is inspiration. Okay, even through all the seasons and everything, it goes through a really tough time, right? That is also inspiration. Inspiration is drawn from the smallest of action to the biggest of impact. So you can be inspired by anything, but to be inspired, you need to try 100 things. जब तक आप 100 चीजें ट्राई नहीं करोगे, तब तक आप इंस्पायर नहीं हो पाओगे. This is also another proven fact. You need to try 100 different things in your life to feel inspired and to understand what is the real purpose of your life. बहुत लोग आज के टाइम पे कंफ्यूज होते हैं कि I don't know the purpose of my life. How would you know the purpose of your life until you've not tried 10,000 different things? आपकी लाइफ अगर आप आज 25 साल के हो, 30 साल के हो, so in 30 years of your life, what have you tried? How many things have you tried? Are those things actually inspiring you? If you say no, then you need to keep trying. You have to keep trying until you have found the purpose. And it's not necessary that you need to find the purpose in your life in any certain age. You can find your purpose of your life at any given point, any given point. You just need to keep trying. You need to keep being inspired by people, by experiences, by things around you. You never know कब आप उसको discover कर लोगे. Next, one more example of it is feeling serenity, inner peace. कभी कभी आपने देखा होगा कुछ लोग बारिश जब होती है तो शांत से बैठ जाते हैं. They feel that inner calmness during that moment, right? चाहे जितना भी कुछ हो रहा हो, you find inner calmness in something that you do. This is also another feeling of positive influence, of feeling joy, of feeling a positive impact on your life. When you feel serenity, inner peace, the people who feel this, they have a very calm demeanor. Calm demeanor का मतलब होता है उनका exterior बहुत calm होता है, अपने behavior में बहुत शांत होते हैं. मतलब जितना भी आप aggressive एक situation आ गया, आप जितना भी aggressively चिल्ला रहे हो, and you find that their reaction to everything in life is a very calm method. They do not get aggressive easily. They don't get angry easily. That's because they have gone through certain situations in life which helps them to deal with emotions in a very effective manner, in a very patient manner. They have a bigger understanding of things. They not only understand things from their point of view, but they also understand things in the other person's point of view, right? They listen, बहुत सुनते हैं, solve करने की कोशिश करते हैं, resolve करने की कोशिश करते हैं. They are this kind of people because they have gone through chaotic experiences and they have not allowed that chaotic experiences to change, the core beliefs or values that they have. बहुत शांत टाइप के लोग होते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि उनकी लाइफ में प्रॉब्लम्स है, but problems का the reaction to problems उनका अलग होता है because वो अपने मन में they have a very different influence of emotions. They don't let negative emotions or dark emotions take over, right? So they actively take care of situations in a very, very empathetic manner, in a very effective manner. Even their communication also is very, very effective. You will see certain leaders in the world who talk very calmly, who react to situations very calmly, and they have a very strong influence on the majority because that is influencing. आप किसी के पास जाते हो, जैसे कि आप अगर किसी गुरु के पास जाते हो, तो the guru you will see has attained this whole calm demeanor because he has understood or she has understood life from a very different angle, right? और उनके पास जब आप जाते हो तो खुद शांत बैठ जाते हो. That is because that is influencing you. It is influencing your mind. It is influencing your actions. It is influencing your thoughts. And it also then influences your behavior. So this kind of communication also matters. Now, keeping it positive, this is one thing. Let's move on to our next. Let's understand the other side of influences also, which is the influence of negative emotions. Now, as I said in the beginning, I work with shadows. Shadows का मतलब होता है your negative emotions or dark side of you. हर इंसान का एक positive side भी होता है, एक negative side भी होता है. However, in shadow, we don't label them as positive or negative. Both these sides, the bright side and the dark side, are personalities. They are your personality. They are your traits. They are that build up your entire personality. They shape who you are. आपकी पर्सनालिटी दोनों चीज से ही शेप होती है. दोनों का ही इन्फ्लुएंस आपके कम्युनिकेशन पे होती है. दोनों का इन्फ्लुएंस आपके बिहेवियर पे होता है. दोनों का इन्फ्लुएंस आपके एक्शंस पे होता है. So we need to be aware that negative emotions are not necessarily bad. जिस तरीके से लोग बोलते हैं bad emotions, no. We need to understand what negative emotions are before we can label somebody as a bad human being or a bad or a negative human being or a negative individual. ये इंडिविजुअल अच्छा नहीं है क्योंकि ये ऐसा है. लेबल नहीं करना है, जज वैसे नहीं करना है. सिर्फ अपीयरेंस देख के किसी को जज करना डजंट सीम राइट. राइट, आपने फिजिकल अपीयरेंस देख के एक बहुत लोग जज करते हैं, वो ठीक है, वो मैटर करता है, एक एक एंगल तक मैटर करता है. बट टू जज somebody based on an action without understanding what the person is actually going through or what the person actually wants to communicate, it is a very wrong method of doing so. So let's understand how negative emotions take place here. So basically negative emotions बहुत type के होते हैं. We have loneliness, we have sorrowness, we have anger, we have disease, sadness. These are all actually negative emotions, and how they have an influence. All these factors, all these so-called negative factors in our lives, they play a huge role in developing emotions such as anger, fear, sadness. Okay, और इसका impact हमारे behavior पे भी पड़ता है. For example, if you are sick for a very long time, right? किसी कोई disease है, sickness है, आप weak feel कर रहे हो, and continuously आपको कोई कुछ बोल रहा है, समझने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहा है, तो आप गुस्सा हो जाते हो कि I am not well, I need to rest, and you lash out. कभी कभी क्या होता है, when you're sick, you also feel scared. Why? कि ये sickness ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि it could develop into something else that could be life threatening. That is a certain fear. That fear also develops into mostly anger. Now, to understand emotions, I'll tell you a very small thing. Anger is the first layer of emotions that we see in somebody. जब कोई गुस्सा होता है, anger एक पहला layer होता है. It is the first layer that we see, right? But उसके नीचे कितने layers है, so that for that the person who has been angry now, उसके पहले उसका कोई और emotion था, उसके पहले उसका कोई और इमोशन था, उसके पहले उसका कोई और इमोशन था. वो जब तीनों चीजें, चारों चीजें, पांचों चीजें जब नहीं हुई, तो उसका अल्टीमेट रिएक्शन एंगर होता है. राइट, beyond, below the whole level, below the level, beyond the surface of anger lies fear, lies sadness, lies loneliness, lies a lot of other emotions that we don't show. And this is the biggest challenge that our community, that our people, we face, because we do not know how to navigate our negative emotions. जब हम खुश होते हैं तो उसको बहुत अच्छे से, उसको बहुत effectively we showcase that. We showcase that we are happy, right? हम लोग बाहर खुले में हम लोग हंसते हैं, loudly हंसते हैं, मजाक उड़ाते हैं, jokes करते हैं. We have fun, right? So when we have fun in an open way, right, and other people, they perceive that also in a very good manner, तब negative emotions जब हम when we try to express negative emotions, हमसे नहीं हो पाता है. And it's a fact. That is because we have been basically programmed right from childhood. रोना नहीं है किसी के सामने, गुस्सा किसी को मत दिखाना वरना लोग क्या सोचेंगे, रोना नहीं वरना अंकल क्या सोचेंगे, आंटी क्या सोचेंगी, दुखी नहीं होना है, दुखी होने से लोग तुम्हारा फायदा उठाएंगे. जब हमें पहले से ही ये प्रोग्राम किया जाता है, बचपन से लेके बड़े होने तक, आज तक, कि ऐसा मत करो, लोग ऐसा सोचेंगे, what happens is that people start fearing negative emotions. Sometimes in an interview also, HRs, human resource professionals, ask you, what are your negative qualities? Negative qualities are the, people don't say, people say I'm impatient and things like that. People don't say that I have an anger issue, or I have depression, or I'm sad most of the time, or I'm lonely, or I'm alone. They don't say this. Why? Because majority of the world does not really perceive this in a good manner. क्योंकि ये दुनिया ही वैसी बनी हुई है जहाँ पे हमें happiness हम दिखा सकते हैं, but the moment we have something that questions our that questions our negative emotions, that questions our anger, that questions our fear, we hide it. हम छुपाते हैं, हम suppress करते हैं. कुछ खराब हुआ है बाहर, घर पे नहीं बोलना है, चुप रहो. कुछ अच्छा हुआ है बाहर, वो आके घर पे बोल दो. That is so easy to share. Good things are so easy to share, and challenges and difficulties are so difficult to share. This is not the fault of just one person or many people. This is actually the fault of generations. We have been told that if we want to be successful in our lives, in our careers, in our relationships, we need to suppress the bad things and keep pleasing other people. We need to actively keep pleasing other people in order for them to validate us. वो बोलेंगे हम अच्छे हैं तो हम अच्छे हैं. तो अगर उन्होंने बोला कि हम अच्छे नहीं हैं, हम वो लेबल अपने माथे पे सारा लाइफ लेते हुए चलते हैं. We take that label that somebody labeled you as not good, and we not good enough. We take that label and we carry that label throughout our lives. So this, what I have noticed throughout my career, is that the influence of negative emotions is basically stronger than positive influence. आज एक अच्छा वीडियो 50 लोग शेयर करेंगे तो जाके वो मे बी वायरल हो सकता है, बट आज एक नेगेटिव वीडियो, एक वीडियो जो वायलेंस दिखाता हो, जो गुस्सा दिखाता, जो हेट्रेड दिखाता हो, जो डिवाइड कर देता हो, that video is basically viral in a couple of seconds by just maybe 2 or 3 people. That is the kind of impact we have on ourselves, on negative emotions. This is how we react so strongly. कोई एक नेगेटिव चीज अगर हम देखें, हमें इमीडिएटली खुशी नहीं होता है, हमें इमीडिएटली गुस्सा आता है, एंड इमीडिएटली हम लोग लैश आउट करते हैं. दैट इज हाउ स्ट्रांग इट इज. But imagine this, if we had a place, right? If we had a safe space where we could express our negative emotions in a manner where, you know, we can resolve so many things. Imagine how effective our communication would be. We would not even have misunderstandings, you know. If, say, for example, आज आप college में आपका किसी से झगड़ा हो गया, you have fought with somebody, and you don't like that person, right? You may not like that person. That is fine. But you go to this person and you say, see, whatever has happened, because of this, our project, our class, our friends should not be affected. Amicably, if you can communicate to solve that problem, rather than talking, say, one person will talk to 5 people, that person will talk to another 5 people, rather than increasing this entire thing and influencing conflict. What if we communicated straight, saying that, okay, I did not like this the way you said it, and allow the person to also explain why he said it, when he said it, and what did he actually mean, right? If we have an understanding like this, imagine how soon conflicts will be resolved. कितनी जल्दी हमारा कोई भी conflict, चाहे वो घर पे हो, कॉलेज में हो, जॉब पे हो, romantic life में हो, it will solve really fast if we have that space to openly communicate, right? Sometimes what happens, even when we are depressed, okay, depression is a really serious disease, I would say, that spreads really fast. It takes over the lives of many people. I have seen really, really good people suffer from depression, okay, and they have been very negatively influenced also about it. उनको तो ऐसा भी लगता है कि depressed होना is also a very bad thing. You can't be depressed, you can't be sad. But no, that is not the case. You're a human being, and human beings have different emotions. Addressing those emotions, accepting those emotions, and honoring those emotions are very important, which is something that none of us really practiced while we were growing up, because we grew up in a very different household. We grew up in a very different atmosphere. We grew up in a very challenging time. कि हमें एक्चुअली ये सब के लिए टाइम नहीं मिला, कभी बैठ ही नहीं पाए कि बैठे चल बैठ के इसके बारे में बात करते, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन इनसाइड मी. वी डिडंट हैव टाइम टू गो थ्रू ऑल दिस. सो व्हेन पीपल गेट एंग्री, व्हेन पीपल आर सैड, remember, below all that surface level negative emotions, there is a huge layer. There may be many layers of different kinds of emotions. So when you see somebody like this, you need to understand their side of the story also. उससे क्या हो जाएगा कि आप जो communicate करने वाले थे, आपका communication का pattern change हो जाएगा. Instead of you also being angry at the person in front of you who's shouting and screaming and telling you things, if you be calm and composed and try to understand what actually happened, आपका if you work on effectively conveying what you want to convey, it creates a whole different vision of communication. It really helps you to avoid conflicts in your personal life as well as professional life. You need to understand where to keep quiet. You need to understand where to listen. Active listening is a major part of communication. कुछ लोग होते हैं, there are two things, listening and hearing. Hearing is not the same as listening. Hearing means आपने सुन लिया. Listening means you heard it, you understood it, and accordingly you will respond. You listened to it carefully and you understood the entire thing and then you responded. This is the major difference between hearing and listening. When we have an argument with anybody, most of the times we hear them and we shout back. We are defensive because हम actually उनका point of view नहीं समझ रहे. हम जो बोलना चाहते हैं हम बस वही बोल रहे हैं. हम उनका point of view नहीं समझ रहे. So that creates a major conflict. This person speaks what he wants to speak. This person speaks what he wants to speak. There is no middle ground of solving a conflict because none of them are using communication. They are just shouting. Shouting is not communication. He's talking in a language, he's talking in a language. He's talking in a very good language, he's talking in a very good language. But is it resolving the situation? No. Both of them are just talking in a certain language. None of them are listening. None of them are understanding. None of them are bringing it to a point where they can sit and sort out the differences. समझना ही नहीं कोई चाहता है. This is why sometimes what happens is these people become confrontational. हम बोलते हैं ना कि let's go confront this person. Confrontation तभी आता है जब आपको गुस्सा आ रहा होता है. When you're angry, you confront somebody. When you're in a calm state of mind, you communicate. There is a big difference between communicating the issue and confronting the person. Confronting का मतलब it's a question answer, straight face question answer, right? This is how negative emotions have an influence on our thoughts. It creates fear, it creates sadness. And when somebody has classic examples and situations of fear and sadness, they choose isolation. They withdraw from situations, they withdraw from interactions, they stop talking, and they choose isolation. They isolate from everybody. They completely disconnect from today's reality. That leads to depression. Slowly and surely, वो depression में convert होता है. Now, I would not want to get into the whole line of depression because that is a very different subject we could talk about. We could talk about this for hours, for months and years. But unless we really do something about how we react to certain emotions and how to communicate effectively, we cannot solve the major issue of depression, right? Because one side, when somebody is explaining their issue or they're trying to tell you that their problem, the other side has to be a very patient listener. जब तक आगे वाला बंदा सुनने के लिए रेडी नहीं है, तब तक ये इंसान जो बोल रहा है उसका कोई solution नहीं निकलने वाला है. This is how emotions play, negative emotions and positive emotions play a major role in communicating in various situations. So, for an instance, somebody who's scared, right? Somebody who is scared is very prone to making irrational decisions. Somebody who is scared makes decisions out of fear. Most of the decisions that come out of fear is not long lasting, it is not productive, it is not even effective because of the fact that it comes from a sense of fear. मैं आज अगर किसी का threat सुन के या डर के मारे लाइफ में कुछ करने जा रही हूँ आगे, जो डिसाइड किया है मैंने, that may not work out for me. because the point of decision is not rational. Decision कभी भी emotional होके नहीं किया जाता है. Emotions का मतलब positive and negative, okay? Emotional होके कोई भी decision आप मत करिए life में. This is one advice that I would give to everybody. To decide something in life, you need to be in a very calm state of mind so that you can allow the pros and cons of a situations to appear in front of you, to understand the root cause of pros and cons. Once you understand, that is how rationally decisions lena hai, especially in business, in career, in choosing a certain course, college applications. When you decide what you want to go forward for in future, you need to be in that sense of mind. For that, बोलते हैं बहुत लोग कि ज्यादा इमोशनल मत होना है, ज्यादा इमोशनल मत होइए. This means that you need to balance your emotions in a way that fuels you. Emotion को as a fuel use कीजिए. Use that as a fuel to ignite yourself, right? But don't decide. Use your mind to decide. Because your mind is analytical and your heart, where your emotions develop, they say wherever your emotions develop, your emotions are basically out of feelings, right? Out of a lot of strong feelings. And your mind, whatever you're thinking, it needs to think analytical. And any decision, be it you're buying a house, you're buying a car, you are deciding for a college, you're deciding for masters, you are planning to marry somebody, you are planning to move abroad. These are decisions that directly impact your future. Anything that directly impacts your future must be given a thought rationally. आपको बैठना होता है, pros and cons लिखना होता है, समझना होता है. You need to calculate a lot and then you need to decide. Based on this decision, अगर गलती होता है, then it is fine because then उस गलती को सुधारा जा सकता है, right? But anything that is out of emotions that you do, any major decision that you make out of emotions, sometimes what happens is the outcome, if it is not favorable, you start feeling guilty. There is a huge cloud of regret over your head. And then you also sometimes get a backlash from your family, from your friends. Support nahi milta hai, dukhi ho jate ho. To avoid this, you need to understand if you're in a state of emotion where you know that your emotions are overtaking your rationalism, where you're not rational enough, take a step back, calm yourself down. This is a method that I also follow during shadow work therapy, where I request my clients to take a step back, sleep on the decision that they have made, because sometimes the decision they have made is out of anger, it is out of feeling sad, it is out of fear. ये 3-4 चीजों से अगर आपने कुछ डिसाइड किया तो वेट कीजिए, सोचिए, think about it, because this impact is going to fall on your future. Another example is that sadness can result in reduced motivation, and you might not feel the necessity of engaging in activities or social events and all that. Fear has a major impact on our emotions, and from fear a lot of other emotions can come through. Sadness can come through, anger can come through, disgust can come through, frustration can come through, jealousy can come through, greed can come through. Kabhi kabhi out of sadness aap greedy bhi ho jaoge. I know this is it's surprising to hear, but the major cause of most of these emotions are fear. When there is a fear that is challenging you, you get overwhelmed with these kind of emotions. तो कभी कभी क्या होता है, इतना ज्यादा हो जाता है दिमाग में, इतना ज्यादा हो जाता है कि आप सैड हो जाते हो. Because of this sadness, what happens is that you don't have motivation to do your favorite things. Say, for example, you like to sing, or you like to you like art, so you like painting and you like to sing and all these things. Sadness एक ऐसा trigger है, एक ऐसा चीज है. If you're sad, you will lose motivation in painting, in singing, in doing anything and everything that you would love to do, right? Even if you go to office, you would not like to talk to people. You would like to, keep away. You would feel very low in even in completing a task, in doing work. And You would always want to be on your own. You would scroll through social media recklessly because that is where you would get somewhat motivation because of the effects of social media. But apart from that, there is nothing that you would like to do during that point of time. This is one example of how negative influences or negative thoughts play a major influence on our behavior. A person who is scared, has a different behavior. A person who is sad has a different behavior. You need to understand and recognize through that behavior. And ये recognition खुद से start करनी होगी. You need to start it from your own, being aware of your own self first. Moving on to our next, this is one tagline that I keep saying: to maintain a calm demeanor, to maintain a little calmness inside you, the first practice is whenever you're getting a negative thought, hold on to yourself, breathe deeply, and think, does this situation require your reaction? And then you go forward with it. You'll see once you deep breathe and you analyze कि ये जो हुआ है, ये situation या ये event, if it is worth your reaction, you will see most of the events, most of the actions don't necessarily need that kind of a strong reaction from your end, right? Moving on to our next. Now, for all of this to work, one needs to have emotional intelligence. Now, let us talk about what is emotional intelligence, okay, and how to understand or the ability to recognize it. So basically, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others. In the previous slide that I said, awareness. Awareness का मतलब ही होता है जब I understand that I am going through a certain emotion, I recognize what that emotion is, I understand that emotion, now I am going to manage that emotion. If I am happy, I recognize I am happy, I understand that I am happy, but I am not supposed to jump, all the time because I am happy, right? You're managing your emotions, right? When you're sad, when you're angry, you recognize your emotions, you understand that you're angry, and you manage your own emotions first. How you do it? You take a break, take a walk, take a 5-minute breather, walk and come back, think, what is it all about? And then compose yourself and come back. This is what emotional intelligence is. When you have the ability to understand that you're going through a certain emotion, understanding how to process that emotion का मतलब ही होता है emotional intelligence. And when you apply the same formula on the people around you, that also means you have a higher stake of emotional intelligence. इसका मतलब है आप not only that you understand your own emotion and process it, you are also understanding the person's emotions and you're also processing your own reaction towards it. This also requires a huge level of awareness, regulation, and understanding the kind of behavior that you need to bring out in that certain situation. Ye awareness and this enabling this regulation is the most important in any aspect of your life. You need to be aware of something and you need to be able to regulate it. Be it a situation, be it an emotion, be it a behavior, be it communication, be it anything. सबसे पहला चीज होता है awareness, which is understanding and knowledge, gaining knowledge of it, understanding the entire situation, and then how to process this. जैसे कि आज आपको अगर एक केक बनाना होता है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू अंडरस्टैंड कि केक बनता कैसे है, केक को बनाने के लिए आपको क्या क्या चाहिए. This is awareness. When you understand what ingredients you need and how to make a cake. Okay, regulating them is कि केक का बैटर बन गया, मैंने सारा इंग्रेडिएंट्स डाला, but what should be the temperature of the microwave, what should be, how much, what is the time limit that this batter should be inside the oven, these external things. This is how you regulate, right? And if you do it in a very synchronized manner, you get a very effective behavior which directly affects your communication, right? Cake बहुत अच्छा आता है इसके बाद. If you follow these instructions and you synchronize everything in a very organized manner. Another aspect of emotional intelligence, which is very important these days, is demonstrating empathy. There are two things that we have learned. We have learned sympathy and we have learned empathy. Sympathy is basically हम जब किसी के लिए sorry feel करते, when we feel sorry for the person that something unfortunate has happened, we extend our support. We try to help them out. That is sympathy. When you feel for that person, when you feel sorry for the person, when you understand कि ठीक है इसके साथ ये हुआ है and I should support this person. But sympathy comes with a very thin line of understanding, a very thin line. Empathy is a stronger feeling. Empathy means you exactly feel the pain, the sorrow, and all these emotions, exactly how the person is feeling. For example, if a person is feeling sad, you would also see that person and start feeling the same kind of emotions, and you would also feel sad. Sympathy में हमेशा ये case नहीं होता है. You sympathize with the person that there is something that has happened in your life, and you extend support. Empathy is you not only extend support, but you feel that the pain that they are going through, and you try to resolve their problem. You try to support them in every single manner that you can. This is the major difference between empathy and sympathy. And that is the reason हम अपने बच्चों को आजकल empathy ज़्यादा सिखाते हैं, सिखाना भी चाहिए. When we teach our children, when we teach, our young people, young individuals, or we teach anybody, the major difference between empathy and sympathy, you will see that empathy not only has kindness, but it has a stronger support, and it brings in, the will of hope, the willingness to live, all this for the other person as well. It gives them a strong motivation to move forward with all the problems that they're facing through in their lives. Sympathy में क्या होता है कि आप जाते हो, you understand, you listen to them, you be there at that point of time, but उससे ज़्यादा there is not much. There's not much of a connection that is established in sympathy. In empathy, that's a very strong connection that is established. That is a major difference between empathy and sympathy. Now, how individuals can use EI or emotional intelligence is when you develop emotional intelligence, which takes years. ऐसा नहीं होता है कि आप 6 महीना, साल भर, you do a course or something. It doesn't happen like that. Emotional intelligence is gained over experience. Years and years of experience, years of meeting people, exposing yourself to the outside world, understanding their stories, listening to more and more stories. You gain this skill, this emotional intelligence. You gain this from years of being with the people and overcoming that whole part of layer. When you overcome that part of layer of embarrassment, of shyness, of weirdness, you start understanding actually other people. That's when you start becoming emotionally intelligent. Why? Because your awareness is heightened. एक बहुत बड़ा एक heightened awareness आ जाता है आप में कि ये चीज इसकी वजह से हो रहा है, तो मुझे ऐसे behave करना होता है. What is the right way of behaving with somebody who is in trouble, in problem? This is something that happens over years, and it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice with you dealing with a lot of other people, other human beings, different kinds of human beings. Not so how does emotional intelligence help? They help you in navigating through complex situations, difficult, challenging conflicts. You resolve them really constructively. You also establish a strong and meaningful connection with people. This is what I was talking about. Sympathy में एक connection नहीं बन पाता है, but empathy में you build a very strong connection with people. That's how you bring together, a united force to create a bigger impact when you have this emotional intelligence within you. Now, let's going forward, let's talk about something which is very new, something which was there but was not known much. known as emotional contagion. Contagion, we all know, comes from the word contagious, right? Now, we all know contagious का मतलब होता है जो चीज spread करता है, right? So, as we all know, कि emotions are also viral. Emotions भी virus की जैसी है. Okay, they're like virus. They spread. So, when you're happy, you spread happiness. When you're sad, it influences also. It influences your surroundings. So, every single emotion has the power, has the capacity to spread. That is the reason, amongst children, we say, let's spread more happiness and kindness amongst children. Because बच्चे वो ही देख के, they develop their emotional sense. They understand that it's a good thing, and it spreads faster. Okay. Whereas, when we spread hatred and anger, that also spreads like wildfire, right? And you will find people who spread hatred and anger, उनके साथ भी जो रहते हैं वो भी बहुत aggressive होते हैं. They are also very hateful. They always have very hateful comments. They have hateful ideas, and they really don't want to create an impact based on the society. So emotional contagion is basically a place where our emotions and moods are also influenced by others' emotions, right? Kabhi kabhi aisa bhi hota hai, when you see your friend sad, you become sad. When you see your friend happy, you're also happy. You don't know why your friend is happy, what good has happened, but because that happiness is so contagious, you also become happy. Now, what happens actually in our brain is that, our brain tends to mimic or adopt other people's emotions without our consciousness, without our conscious awareness. हमें पता भी नहीं होता है, and हमारे ब्रेन ने एक particular emotion को adapt कर लिया, mimic कर लिया, and we also start feeling the same thing. Sometimes it also happens when you come back from something. आपने किसी एक मूवी देखा या you sat down with a group of friends and they're talking about something disturbing. When you come back home, you tell your mom or your dad कि मैं थोड़ा सा disturbed हूँ, अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है. And then they say कि अरे अच्छा भला तो था शाम को, अब क्या हुआ? What happened is that when you sat in that conversation, even though you didn't say much, you listened, you heard. Unknowingly, our subconscious minds registers all of this. It adapts to all of it. And then you start feeling low because these things disturb you. Anything that disturbs you starts feeling low. It's exactly the opposite when it happens with, with good emotions. Somebody has got a promotion, a friend. You did not get a promotion, your friend has got a promotion, but because you're a good friend, you are also very happy. Because our spas, there is this whole field of energy where everyone is happy. घर पे छोटे भाई छोटे बहन या बड़ा भाई या बड़ी बहन ने एक achievement कुछ किया, everybody is happy because this is how emotions spread. They are very easy to adapt. They are very easy to mimic because our subconscious minds, they tend to react to the situation around. That is the reason हम बोलते हैं कि बच्चों के सामने झगड़ा नहीं करते हैं, because children also pick up on these things. These things, when children, adolescents, young individuals, adults, जब हम ये सारी चीजें pick up करते हैं, this significantly affects our behavior, it affects our communication, and it affects our emotional state of mind. Anything that affects our behavior will affect our communication, and anything that affects our communication will affect the emotional state or emotional experiences, our own experiences. So we need to know what kind of emotions we are surrounding ourselves with, whether we have the awareness, capacity, and emotional intelligence to deal with these emotions, so that when I get out of that place, I am again a neutral person. And then I go home with a different, a positive mindset. Like in an example here, if you see, if someone around us is experiencing happiness, we find that even we feel happy and joyful. And somebody who is really anxious or stressed or crying or overwhelmed, that also affects us. We also feel sad. We also feel stressed. We also sometimes feel pressurized. Sometimes we also feel helpless. because we cannot help the person who is feeling all these emotions. That also makes us sad, because when we feel helpless, we automatically start feeling sad. This is what emotional contagion is, and how contagious it could be on our communication. When we feel happy, the way we express ourselves, the way we talk, the way we write emails, the way we write messages, the way we say hi, bye, hello, it affects, positivity affects our body language, and it affects our communication. If we are sad, if we're depressed, if we're feeling lonely, or we are angry, we are anxious out of fear, this also affects our body language. It affects our communication, how we talk, how we behave, how we react, how we message, how we WhatsApp, all of this. It even changes the kind of movies we want to see. It even changes the kind of memes we want to share. It even changes the kind of reels that we watch. So all of these things have a vice versa effect. Sometimes social media also makes us feel emotionally challenged because of the kind of visuals we see, the kind of songs we listen to. It has a big impact on our mindsets. So before behavior, before actions, before behavior, before emotions, and all of these things, we need to understand the kind of mindset we have, the kind of emotional mindset we have around us, the kind of influence that our surroundings have on us, whether we are capable of dealing with our emotions, whether we are intelligent enough to understand other people's emotions, whether we are empathetic enough, whether we have enough empathy to understand other people's feelings, emotions, and the pain and the experiences they're going through or not. All of these things matter so much, and all of these things affect our communication. See, as I see, so the diagram here easily, marks all of the emotions that are surrounding communication. Confrontation is an emotion, where somebody is questioning you. Negotiation is a part of communication, where if you are in a rational state of mind, you can negotiate properly. Any kind of discussion, decision, resolution process, whether it belongs to personal or professional, every single thing comes down to how you communicate it. The outcome of all of this, what is it? What is the outcome of your emotions? How can you use communication skills, to create a successful living, whether it's personal or professional? It all comes down to this. This also creates a huge impact and how you are basically writing the next couple of years for yourself, because what you do now has a huge impact on what you do, on the kind of results that is going to show you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. And this is exactly that what I work upon with my clients, my students, to understand how to build a stronger foundation of communication. Once we have built a strong foundation of communication, we can then take charge on every other challenge in our life, and none of those challenges would seem very difficult, because then we know that ultimately we will come out with a certain resolution. And this confidence itself is a part of communication. Coming back to a very important part that I had started with nonverbal communication and emotions. What are differences? Nonverbal cues include facial expressions, body language, and your tone of voice. Very important. We have already spoken about the kind of impact that happens when we have certain kinds of emotions, when we're dealing through certain kinds of emotions. So how does it affect? Non-verbal communication has a huge hold on how we're trying to communicate. Normally, you'll see when we type a certain messaging में there is a lot of miscommunication. When we message, when we text, And that is the reason, we say that, sometimes non-verbal communication creates conflict. Non-verbal communication also means, when you're sitting in front and when you're talking to somebody, the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you speak, the tone of your language, whether it is harsh, aggressive, passive aggressive, just passive, kind, slow, calm, open-ended, close-ended. These are all the way, your tone of voice matters so much when you are trying to communicate something, including, your face, how you're smiling, the kind of body language. Like right now, I'm using my hand because I am trying, to communicate, something. And I use a lot of non-verbal communication as well, which includes my face, my expression, my body language, the tone of my voice, and the number of times I use my hands, or if I'm in a training session, one-on-one training session where I move a lot, I walk, share examples. These convey a lot about your emotions, right? The person who's going through a lot of emotions, a lot of negative emotions, dark emotions, they will be very quiet, flat tone of voice, not very loud, not very expressive. Hands will be down, shoulders will be down, it will be hunched. These are some symptoms, some not symptoms, I'm sorry. These are some of the ways, as professionals, we recognize in somebody that helps us to understand that this person is right now probably going through a difficult time. Research suggests that, nonverbal communication carries more weight than emotional expression and interpretation. कभी कभी क्या होता है, आप सब कुछ सही बोल रहे हो, आपकी इंटेंशन भी सही है, आपका सब कुछ बहुत सही है, but the person has totally misunderstood you. Why? Because you didn't use the proper hand gestures, you didn't have the proper facial expression, you were not smiling probably enough, or you were not serious enough, or the tone of your voice was not in sync to what you were saying. Tone of your voice has to be in synchronization of what you are talking. If it is a sad news and you're screaming and shouting and saying this sad news, nobody is really going to feel sad. They are going to feel threatened that why is this person screaming? So these cues, they intensify a situation, or they complement a situation, or they contradict a situation. You need to know, you need to understand that non-verbal communication is far more important than only verbal communication. You need to set the tone, the gesture, and the body language in the very beginning of what your news is or what your situation is. That is how the people around you, or the person who you're talking to, can understand, can gain some kind of knowledge of how to react. You need to even give people that space to react. So our emotions are basically shaped how we perceive the other person's verbal as well as non-verbal communications based on what emotions they're going through. Communication outcomes, they fall back on this. Now, be aware. Again, we need to be aware of non-verbal cues and to adjust it accordingly, right? Because sometimes if you're too expressive, that would not, kind of bring in a place where, they would perceive your message differently. Sometimes not being expressive also would, perceive you as a very different, your news as a different subject. So we need to understand, for this, we need to work on our body language, on our voice, on our tone, on our facial expressions. We need to work on non-verbal communication. So communication has two parts. One is verbal communication, one is non-verbal communication. Another major part is also written communication. Okay? Written communication is again something where we, express our thoughts and express our ideologies in writing. So we need to do all of these three together. Communication doesn't only mean English, it means a combination of verbal, non-verbal, written. all of these three in a certain language makes you a successful communicator. That is why emotions are important. As I said over here, also, and maybe it's the same thing. Emotional expressions, how they help. If you're expressing empathy during a conversation, your body language needs to be such that you are showing empathy. So your shoulders cannot be upright, your shoulders need to be neutral, your hands need to be in a place. You need to sit, listen. Active listening is where you're sitting in a neutral state and you are listening to the person without interrupting. And you're trying, after that, you try to console the person and then ask them if they need advice. Unsolicited advice sometimes doesn't sound good. कभी कभी इंसान जब एक emotional reaction में होता है, when they are tensed emotionally, they don't need advice. They need to be comforted. They need your support to listen to their problems. Sometimes they do not need you to solve their problems. And we as individuals need to understand that. कि एडवाइस आप तभी दो जब आपके पास कोई एडवाइस के लिए आए. Otherwise, do not give advice when they are in an emotional state, because advice is something rational. You cannot impart rational solutions when somebody is feeling, he or she is full of those emotions. It doesn't register in the mind because the mind is going through a lot of overwhelming feelings. You need to comfort that person. And then when the person, after a couple of days or after a couple of hours, when the person is willing and ready to hear you out, that is when you ask them if they are willing to hear a solution or maybe a problem solving idea. That is when you impart your idea. This is a very strong part of communication, very strong part. You need to know when to give advice, when not to give advice. Be it your friend, your siblings, family members, relatives, professional friends, colleagues, anybody. It applies to everybody, everybody. It matters. Now, coming back to again, emotions such as empathy, compassion, and appreciation. आप अगर किसी को बोल रहे हो कि आई एम कंपैशनेट टुवर्ड्स यू एंड आई अप्रिशिएट यू, मेक श्योर कि आपका बॉडी लैंग्वेज भी वही बोले. That is in sync. When you sync your words with your body language, it makes it believable that genuinely you are trying to appreciate somebody. That is how emotional expression matters in communication. Now, let us talk about a little bit about emotional regulation and strategies. Now, we've spoken so much about how these things affect us, and different people have different ways of regulating their emotions. There are many techniques. Now, people who go to who talk to friends, who talk to family, who talk to psychologists, हर एक का अलग advice होता है कि ऐसे करो, ऐसे करो, ऐसे करो. I will not give any kind of advice here as of such, but I'll just share with you some techniques that I have used during my therapies with my clients, during my coaching sessions. We have used this, and over time, this has been really effective and helpful. Number one is deep breathing. Deep breathing has a huge impact on our brain, because when we deeply breathe, we are actually sending a lot of oxygen into our brain so that our brain can help us to regulate our emotions. It can send down the right kind of signals to the entire to our entire nervous system. So nervous system को regulate करने के लिए we need to breathe deep. Deep breathing, even in yoga, is encouraged because of the fact that we are regulating our nervous system. Our nervous system controls our emotions. It controls our thoughts. So we need to calm down. In order to calm down, we need to breathe deeper to help the circulation, to help the blood circulation to flow through, our entire body, hands, legs, organs, so that we can calm down and then think rationally. Again, deep breathing, I would not get into so much of it because this again takes in a lot of time. Some other day, maybe I could sit and we could talk about this differently. The other thing is mindfulness. Mindfulness ka matlab hota hai, we use this word a lot. Be mindful, be mindful. Mindfulness ka matlab hota hai when you are aware of your emotions and you are aware of your surroundings, you exactly know how to behave, how to speak, what to speak, when to speak. When you know these kind of things, how, when, what, you are mindful of your surroundings. That is exactly another technique that I ask my clients to practice, mindfulness. It's a very easy thing. What you need to do is, whenever you're going through a challenging situation, instead of reacting immediately, sit, think, why is this happening? What is this exactly about? Whether your reaction should be like this or not, observe what are you feeling. Say if there is somebody who's shouting in front of you, observe your own feelings. How are you feeling? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling nervous? What are you feeling? The moment you observe what are you feeling, immediately take a deep breath, calm yourself down, and when that person stops, then you extend conversation, you extend communication, and you ask, how can I help to make the situation much better or better? How can I help to make the situation, how can I help to resolve this conflict or resolve the issue? How can I? When you ask the person, how can I help you? The person calms down. When the person calms down, then ask the person that how and what are you feeling right now? Can I help you in any other manner? When you extend help, the entire situation changes. And another way of, if you think that I cannot regulate my emotions, I always have suggested seek social support, speak out, go to your mentor or a friend who you trust or a confidant, somebody who you're close to, somebody who you believe and trust blindly. You believe their words, they have a positive influence in your life, they inspire you to do things. Go to a person like that and ask, how should I do this because I am feeling like this? Reach out, because unless you reach out, you cannot understand how to deal with different situations, because today one situation for you could have a very different perspective for somebody else. So a second opinion or a third opinion could actually help you. Like when we get sick, we go to a doctor gives us medicine, the medicine doesn't work. What do? We again call up the doctor. Somewhere, if we feel that the doctor is not helpful or this is not helping, we go to another doctor for a second opinion. This second opinion is seeking out for support from another professional, from somebody else who has a different perspective on things. Okay, rather than reacting impulsively कि ये चिल्ला रहा है आप भी चिल्ला रहे हो, you're shouting, he's shouting, there's no solution on this. This is just going to make communication even worse. So what we do is we need to engage in productive behaviors. The first step to engage in productive behavior is to observe how do you feel in a challenging situation. When you observe that, you understand then how to behave. You know how to behave, because then you are slowly starting to control your impulsivity. Once you control your impulsive nature, impulsive behavior, the impulsive thought of reacting, you start understanding and creating awareness about yourself. And then you would want to communicate in a peaceful manner, in a constructive manner. And the result is going to be very productive. So today, we've spoken on a lot of things. There has been, I know this was just of an hour. It's already 6:40. I'll conclude with just one thing. Emotions always have a huge impact, a very profound, a very concentrated impact on behavior and communication. Positive emotions promote openness, creativity in pro-social behaviors, and negative emotions, lead to defensive behaviors and withdrawal. Defensive behavior मतलब जब आप defensive होके आप झगड़ा start करते हो, withdrawal मतलब आप चुप रह के पीछे हट जाते हो. Okay, either the two. There is nothing in between. When you develop emotional intelligence, it allows us to regulate. It allows us to create a balance between emotions and empathize with whatever is happening around us. That affects our communicational skills. And when our communication skills are affected by, emotional intelligence, it has a bigger influence on everybody around us. And then it not only shapes your behavior, it also brings you meaningful connections. So I would suggest you practice emotional regulation strategies. A lot of strategies are even available online. It's even available YouTube, because this can really help navigate emotions effectively. And anybody who is looking forward to, improve their communication can improve it very constructively. So I'd like to conclude on this. And if you have any questions, I would be okay to take the questions in case there is some time left.
Wow, that's a very wonderful knowledge given by you, ma'am. I hope our audience learned many new things from the session. It's very effective for our audience. And
Right.
once again, thank you for joining us and sharing your experience and your precious time with us. So there are some of the questions which has been also mentioned in the chat box.
Okay.
So first question is there any solution to control negative emotion? It was sent by Mansa.
Okay. Yes, there are methods. There are a lot of methods, as I have also discussed during the PowerPoint presentation. There are methods to regulate emotions, be it positive or negative. However, regulation works much better on negative emotions because it is a very difficult process, right? As I said, the first process that we need to understand when we are going through a challenging situation, we first need to take control over our impulsive reaction that goes on in our brain. It's like वहां से कोई चिल्ला के बोल रहा है, अपने को accuse कर रहा है, and they're shouting and howling, and the immediate reaction or the first reaction that our brain creates is that you say this, you say this, you say this, and we get ready to attack. That is impulsive. Don't. The moment we attack, we are giving into our emotions, our negative emotions. This reaction needs to be controlled in a manner where you first understand what is going on. Maybe you don't understand what is going on there, but you need to understand what's going on inside. So the first technique is whatever's happening there, take a deep breath. Huge, as I said, that the deep breath not only affects us psychologically, deep breathing also affects us physiologically. We सांस चाहिए हमें सांस लेना है because we need blood. We need enough of flow of blood in our body. And for that, we need to first calm down. We need to take a deep breath. We need enough of oxygen to go up to our brains so that we can think of what to say rather than getting ready to fight. The second thing after taking a deep breath is to observe your own self. What are you feeling? The person, what he is saying or she is saying could be correct, could not be correct. Sometimes it happens that the person is accusing you of something that you don't even know about. At that time, you will feel angry. Anger is the first layer, as I had mentioned. It's the first layer of emotion that somebody feels in any situation. Hold on to that thought. Instead of getting ready to lash out, hold on. We know that you're feeling angry. This only happens out of practice. You need to continuously practice these things. This doesn't happen overnight. The second is when the person is shouting and screaming, be quiet, observe his behavior, her behavior. When the person finishes, let them sit down. Then ask, I know you're upset. I am sorry that you're so upset. I may have done something that may have upsetted you. Let's talk about it. The moment we change our method of communication, instead of shouting, the person calms down. It's a psychological effect. When you are calm and you are offering calmness, the person has to calm down. It happens in all situations. Ask the person, how can I help you? I'm really sorry that you're going through this. I apologize that maybe I have done something, knowing or unknowingly, that has affected you. Let's talk about it. Then come to a place, a mutual place, a respectful place where both people can lay out their issues. So this is a pattern that we need to keep following. And this has to be done consciously. The person screaming in front of us is screaming unconsciously. He doesn't even know, or they don't even know how and what their behavior is actually having an effect on us. That is unconscious, right? That is their blind spot. They don't know the effect that they're creating on us, but we know the effect that we are having because of their behavior. We are conscious. We know. We can choose how to behave. We need to choose how to behave. So it's a conscious thing, a conscious decision that we need to make. Should I shout, be impulsive, and scream out, or should I wait for the person to finish venting out, and then I can offer a solution? This is one method. Before that, you need to take a deep breath and then cause yourself to first calm down. Then you can sort out the issue.
Okay, ma'am. The second question is from Divya Jain. Do emotions get influenced automatically?
I didn't hear you properly.
Do emotions get influenced automatically?
Yes, emotions do get influenced automatically. It is known as emotional contagion, as I had discussed. Emotional contagion is something that it spreads, right? So we do get affected by the people around us, by the emotions people are displaying around us. You need to know that in life, we are not really shielded by anything, right? We get affected by a lot of things. The key over here is to understand which emotion needs our reaction and which emotion does not need our reaction. We need to choose how to react, on what to react. So the reaction, every action, has an equal and opposite reaction. Remember this law, Newton's law. Well, here we have a choice. I know this particular action is going to create this reaction. It does have an effect on us, but the way to deal with it is in our hands. So we can choose how to react. Sometimes by default, say if we see somebody, say for example, if we see a lady slapping a boy in front of us, it makes us angry automatically, right? But you don't go and slap the lady, right? I mean, that is the impulse. You don't go and slap the lady. What do you go and do? You go and talk to the lady. That what is this whole thing about? Why did you do that? You make the lady realize that what she did, whether the child is hers or not, physical violence was something that she shouldn't have chosen, and she should have decided better. Believe me, half of the time people will tell you ki if it's their child, they will tell you ki ye to mera bachcha hai, mujhe jo karna hai, aap kaun hote ho. However, that is of course their matter, but this is how we regulate our emotions. We did our duty by addressing that situation. We need to know whether that situation, how grieved that situation is, whether we need to take it to a next level or not, or we need to back out from there. We need to maintain that boundary also. So yes, coming back to the question, other people's emotions, negative emotions around us do affect us. We need to choose how we react to it. There's a lot of things going on around the world. If everything starts affecting us, believe me, we are already very depressed human beings. We'll be depressed and sad all the time, but we choose to come out of it, right? We go to work every day, we study every day, we meet our friends every day. We do discuss about these issues every day, but you need to understand there are some issues, there are some things that you cannot help, and there are some ways that you can help. You need to choose. The decision and the mindset lies there to choose what needs your reaction.
Yes, so it was very effective for our audience, and thank you so much for answering these questions. And once again, I thank you all for attending today's webinar. And if you have any additional questions, you can contact us by email or telephone. We're happy to provide you additional support to you. Please follow us on Instagram and subscribe our YouTube channel for new learning. And thank you for cooperating. Stay connected to us for new learnings. I, Anjali Kushwaha, host for today's evening, signing off. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.